All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Before we get started, just a couple of those normal items to take care of. We will have time for questions at the end of the presentation. You can type those in by clicking the Q&A section in the lower portion of your control panel. You can also chat throughout with each other as well. We will be posting a recording of the webinar on our blog. The link for that will be shown at the end. And if you'd like a PDF copy of the slides, there will be a link to download that on that same post as the recording. If your question does not get answered today, or if you think of anything else, please email our support inbox, which will be shown at the end as well. All right, what is on the agenda for today? We titled it, It's Okay Not to Be Okay. These last 2+ now years have been exceptionally hard mentally and emotionally for a lot of us, right? But it's also opened up conversations about mental and brain health, which is something we can and should continue to build on because it's such an important part of our overall health and oftentimes gets pushed down that priority list of life, right? So I want to spend some time during Mental Health Awareness Month, which is May, to talk about the fact that it's absolutely normal to struggle with your mental health at certain times. We'll talk about how to track your mental health, get some awareness, some daily habits that you can start today to help give you some more good days. And then we'll talk about when it might be time to ask for additional support and some contacts possibly to get you started. Now, we did this a very similar webinar last May as well because the facts are still there, right? They're all the same with mental health, but I'm hoping you can get a few more nuggets if you were here last year as well. So let's start with the basics. What do I mean when I say mental health? I mean the overall picture of our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Mental health affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. Good mental health means effective functioning in daily activities. If we take care of our mental health, it can positively affect our lives in almost every way possible. It helps us deal with stress. It helps our physical health. It helps our relationships. It helps our productivity at work. It helps our overall sense of purpose and potential in our lives. It helps us adapt, change, and cope with adversity. Resiliency is another way to describe that ability to kind of roll with the punches, as they say. So overall, that's what I mean when I say mental, or some people term it brain health. But it's not always easy to know where we stand with our mental health, right? It isn't as easy to measure or track as, let's say, physical health. We can measure our blood pressure, our cholesterol, our blood sugar, all of those things give us a picture of our physical health, right? We can track what we eat. We can track how much we exercise, how much sleep we get, and set goals around that with our physical health. Now, we know mental health does affect our physical health and vice versa, right? But it's not quite as black and white with mental health. So we have to be more mindful when we're looking to track it to see if we can create some goals and improve it. So a couple ways you can keep tabs on your mental well-being include tracking it, just like you would any other aspect of your health. So how do we do that? Well, one example could be by journaling a bit each day, just to kind of get a pulse on your emotions, the vibe of what you're journaling. If you're a pen and paper person, you can have a journal that you spend a few minutes each day before bed or whenever it's convenient for you, have it near you or with you. You can also do it electronically in a simple Word or Google Doc or in an app. There's lots of apps designed for that specific purpose. More to come on our app here in a second that has that as well. And you can even keep it more simple than that right away. You can give yourself a ranking each day between 1 and 10, or you can use emojis to rank. On the right here, I have a screenshot of our Health Check 360 app. It's got the faces up top that you can rank your feelings at that moment. And then at the bottom, you have your average mood for either the week, the month, or the year. So it gives you kind of where you fell on average, right? To get a picture, an overall picture of that mental health. And then you can have a goal for either, if you do the 1 through 10 ranking or whatever it may be, you can have a goal. Okay, this is where I'd like to be. This is where I feel good. You'll start to get an idea of, okay, what does a 1 mean to me? What does a 10 mean to me? And everything in between. Again, our app also has that journal section that you can see that you can elaborate on that ranking. It's not as simple as being, oh, I'm happy today, right? There might be some aspects that you are happy about, but there might be other aspects that you're not as happy about. So you can break it down into different areas of your life as well, right? And then one thing to think about tracking along with the overall mood and feeling are triggers that you may notice that cause changes in your mood. Keeping track of trends and how you feel to see if you can spot the source of maybe some of those not so good days is extremely important in being able to make changes, right? If we don't know what's causing us anxiety or just feeling down, it's going to be kind of hard to change it. We need that awareness first so we can make appropriate adjustments, right? It's also important to have check-ins throughout the day with yourself. We know that our mood can be different at specific times and different times of the day, right? So paying attention to any changes, or again, finding those specific triggers of why our mood is what it is at whatever time throughout the day can help us figure out what we need to do to adjust. Now, you don't have to necessarily go as far as ranking or writing down more than just once a day, but again, just having a minute where you kind of stop and check in to see how you're feeling and why you might be feeling helps bring more mindfulness to our days, right? It's all about being mindful, figure out why we feel what we do. Now, a couple of things I want you to keep in mind as you pay more attention to your mental and brain health. These are really important points to make. First, even if you have great habits with your mental health, you're still going to have bad days, right? As it says, it's okay not to be okay sometimes. Mentally healthy people understand this and know that it's not about preventing negative emotions, right? Or it's not about burying them down deep inside and ignoring them. It's about acknowledging them, being aware of them, and then working through them to hopefully overcome them, not letting it become a pattern, right? So I think that's very important. You don't have to always be happy. And you might think that some people that you know are always those happy people, but I guarantee you they have bad days too, right? It's about working through it. And then the next thing I want you to keep in mind has to do with mental health versus mental illness. There's been a stigma around mental health for a long time, right? We know this, but like I said, more people are opening up and shedding light on it. We still have a long ways to go, but we're moving forward, I think. A lot of times mental health and mental illness get talked about as if they're the same thing. So they're not, and I want to explain why. Think of it this way. If you exercise daily, if you have good habits with your physical health, your overall biometric readings are good, you don't have any major physical concerns with your body, you're able to do all of the activities you want, you'd say you have pretty good physical health overall, right? Now, if you practice good stress management and mental health techniques and have good daily mental health habits, if you don't have anything going on that affects your daily living, then you have good mental health as well. Physical and mental health can change over time depending on those habits. But let's say you get some sort of physical illness or something happens that comes on suddenly and you just don't feel right, right? Your leg hurts or whatever it may be. You try to relax for a few days, see if it will pass, but it doesn't, and it starts to get worse. What's the next step? Most of you are going to call your doctor, right? You go see your doctor, they diagnose what it is, tell you what to do to improve. That can possibly include maybe some medication that you'll have to take as the pain comes up, right? And you're all set, right? No big deal. You still consider yourself overall physically, your physical health is still good, right? You just have to manage this specific illness or whatever it is as needed. Now, think of someone, maybe you, who manages your stress well, you feel good most days, you're doing well. Now think of something that comes on suddenly and you just don't feel right. You can't seem to get out of that funk of feeling down. You try and, quote, power through or snap out of it to see if it'll pass, but it doesn't. And you start to feel worse. What's the next step? Now, if you follow that pattern of our physical health, it's going to be to call your doctor and get an appointment, right? Unfortunately, this is where those things differ. This step never happens for a lot of people. This is what we need to change. Just because it's not as easy to pinpoint as a physical ailment doesn't mean we shouldn't treat it just the same. And let's say you go to the doctor, talk to a therapist, possibly get some medication for symptoms as needed, and you still practice all the same good mental health habits you had before. You still have good overall mental health. You just have to manage the condition as needed, right? If we can make it as normal to go to the mental therapist as it is to go to the physical therapist, it's going to lead to better lives for a lot of people. We need to change our wording. We need to change our attitude, right? And hopefully if you're on the webinar today, you understand that. And that's part of the reason why you're here. So let's spread the message. We'll talk more about when it may be time to see a mental health professional in just a bit, but I want to switch gears and talk more about just some of the daily habits that you can incorporate to keep yourself mentally in shape, if you will. Now, there's lots more that I'm going to talk about today, but I'm going to give you just some things to get started. First is finding the positive. Doesn't have to be anything huge, just something good in your day, something you're grateful for, something you're looking forward to in order to bring yourself back into a more positive mindset. So specifically, this can be used when you're not having such a great day, but it's always going to be good to look at the positive, right? Even if you're feeling good, continuing to have your mind focus on the positives, it's going to change how your brain thinks. You're going to start to notice positives more if we can work on changing that mindset. It's not easy, it takes practice, but it's a great thing to get started with. Another term used in this situation is positive self-talk. So instead of focusing on just a positive thought, you focus on a positive message to yourself. So instead of saying, man, I messed that up, right? You say, okay, well, I'm going to try it again, but we're going to try it in a different way, right? Think of a time, I like to give this example. Think of a time when you've talked to your significant other, your kids, your best friend, a coworker, when they had something go wrong or when they had a bad day or when they screwed something up, right? What did you say to them to encourage them? You were probably pretty positive with your message, right? So now what I want you to do is take that type of language, use it on yourself too. Positive self-talk. We tend to be harder on ourselves than anyone else. And you'll recognize that as you start to listen to your thoughts and stop and actually analyze your thoughts a little bit. We're harder on ourselves. We're very bad at negative self-talk. So use some of those supportive words that you use for other people on yourself as well. Next tip is to surround yourself with positive people, right? Make sure that you have a lot of people in your life that are positive, that are supportive, that you can depend on to give you helpful advice and feedback. As we all probably know or have experienced, negative people can increase the stress in our lives and they can bring us down, right? Now, we can't always avoid those types of people, right? Just do your best to limit contact with them if you're able to, or practice some positive self-talk or other stress management techniques after you speak with them, before you speak with them. And then again, increase contact with those that bring you joy. If you know you can call someone up and they'll make you smile, do it more often. Speaking of smiling and laughing, that's my next tip. Smile and laugh. Find stuff that you enjoy and have it around you. Doing this physically helps lower stress hormones. It helps ease anxiety. It improves our mood. It helps shift that perspective, like I was talking about, in a more positive way. Have strategies that make you smile, that make you laugh, ready to go throughout your day. Things like throwing a funny movie in at night or a show on Netflix that you like to watch. Looking at pictures of your family members that make you smile, your pets, your friends, any other reminders or things that bring positive memories or feelings that can help bring on that calming effect and that positive effect for you. Have it front and center in your life. And then last in this area is accept. So again, this isn't an easy one, but it's important to start to work on. I specifically mean accepting things that are outside of your control. This is hard a lot of times right now, especially, right? You can't control everything that happens no matter how much you want to. Practice focusing on what you can control, which is typically how you react and what you choose to focus your energy on. That's a big one. I'm going to say that again, how you react and what you choose to focus your energy on. I'm saying that because I need that reminder too. Look for the positives in your situation, like I already mentioned. And then get your feelings out to someone that you feel safe talking to as well. Again, it's not about ignoring those negative emotions, it's about working through them. And sometimes it's just talking to someone, get it out, and then moving on to figure out where you're going to put your energy to put you in a good space. The next tip I have is to create an attitude of gratitude. Research from UC Davis found that those who work daily on their gratitude, being grateful for things, reduced cortisol levels, which is a hormone released when you're stressed. It reduced that cortisol level by 23%. Cortisol can also actually make you retain body weight in your stomach specifically. So, hey, that's another win-win to reduce that cortisol mentally and physically. They experience improved mood, obviously, energy, less anxiety. So again, attitude of gratitude, simply taking time, dedicated time to focus on the positive. And again, especially when you're experiencing negative days, make a part of your day that can be stressful an opportunity to practice gratefulness, like waiting in line or traffic. Instead of just sitting there stewing, getting annoyed, use that time to think about something you're grateful for, or even, have that good music playing and just be happy and smile, make it a positive experience, because you can't change it, right? We need to accept that we're stuck in traffic, but let's make the most of that time. You can also use other times that are consistent in your day, brushing your teeth, taking a shower, times like that to, again, intentionally focus on what you're grateful for. If you start your day on something positive, it can set the tone for the rest of the day, right? Now, I talked about journaling to track your mental health, and you can also use it to improve that mental health. Adding in a gratefulness journaling session a few times per week and actually physically noting those things you're grateful for. This, again, electronic journal, actual paper and pen, whatever works best for you. Mindfulness that includes being grateful changes the way our brain works. I mentioned this already. When we start to focus on the positive more regularly, our brain's going to start to automatically seek out and notice more positive things. Being intentional with your gratefulness can give you perspective on life. It can help you sleep better if you think about those positives before bed. It can lower that body's physical stress response, like I already mentioned, those cortisol levels, things like that. And it helps make you more self-aware as you kind of connect with your thoughts a little more. And the great thing about an actual journal is that you can go back and you can read those positive things when maybe you're not having such a great day. It can remind you of, okay, yep, that's right. I do have some great things going on. Let me focus on those. And once again, it's not about ignoring those negative thoughts, right? It's about working through them by way of finding positives to kind of help you cope and help you get through until that hard time is past, okay? All right, next mental health strategy is actually practicing physical healthy strategies. Mental and physical health are and will always be intertwined. When we take care of ourselves physically, it helps our mind function better. Eating well, getting enough exercise, enough sleep are extremely important for our mental health. Think about it. When you've had a bad night's sleep for whatever reason, it can be pretty challenging to be in a good space mentally the next day, right? And whether you realize it or not, when you don't eat nutritious foods or get enough exercise in, it does affect your mood and mental health. So think about that. If you're not even sure why you're not feeling great, think about these other aspects. If I did more of this, will it maybe help my mental health? Put that on the checklist of things to try, okay? I'd love to spend more time talking about physical health, but of course I'd keep you too long. So we've got lots of physical health webinars and articles on our blog. So I'm going to move on here. Next technique is called grounding. So grounding is basically an in the moment technique for stress that can stop that response when we're feeling overwhelmed, if we're feeling that anxiety, if we're feeling that anger come out. And before we respond, the goal is to step away from those scattered, anxious, angry thoughts and bring yourself directly into the moment, which can calm you down. A common grounding technique example is using your senses. So all you have to do if you're feeling that negative energy, whatever it is, stop and think about, okay, what do I see? Find something that you see. I see out my window. What do you smell? What do you hear? What do you taste possibly? What do you feel? Or can you get something that you can feel, something soft, something like that? Your brain has to actively engage in the here and now. And it can give you some calm and some clarity if you're having a tough moment. Okay, so that's a really, really powerful technique. So I want you to think about that again, in the moment technique. Now, on a similar note, as this meditation and breathing exercises are both great habits that have a positive effect on our mental health as well. And again, you can use them for the in the moment stress as well as just a daily habit to practice, which is preferable. We've discussed these on quite a few webinars in the past, but I just want to do a quick overview for anyone who hasn't seen it or is not familiar. So meditation is a strategy to bring awareness to our thoughts, right? To help calm that busy mind down. You can listen to a recording of a guided meditation that helps direct your focus, or you can do it on your own. It can be as simple as just sitting and breathing. And again, just being in that moment to just slow down, calm our minds and bodies that are always going 100 miles per hour. The goal of meditation, take a second, focus on our own mind, not everything going around us. And it can be just that too, a second or a minute. It doesn't have to be a huge amount of time to practice this. This helps lead to positive changes in how we think, again, how we feel physically, how we respond to stressors, because we're in a more calm frame of mind. If we can work on not reacting immediately to every stimulus around us, it can be easier to respond rather than react emotionally to situations, right? Giving us a clear head, more confidence in our decisions, increase that mental wellness. There are many meditation apps out there. I included a couple here just that I'm familiar with, but again, lots more. And I'm going to include a link to our mental health resource center that has some guided meditations on it that Health Check 360 has created. And I encourage you to do your own searching as well to find a resource that works for you for meditation, mindfulness, that type of thing. And then breathing, again, goes along with meditations a lot of times too. Again, goal is just to physically slow down. And again, this one's probably easier for the in the moment because you don't need, if you don't want to do anything guided, it's just you can sit quietly, pay attention to your breathing. You don't even have to change it. Just simply observing your breathing and paying attention to it typically ends up calming us down and slowing the breathing, right? It ends up being a simple meditation. Again, the goal, just focus on your breath, bring you into the moment. There's a couple examples of breathing here that are out there. One is called box breathing or 4 square breathing. Very simple. All you do is inhale for a count of 4. You hold that breath for a count of 4. You exhale for a count of 4, and then you hold the exhale. Makes sense with the name, right? Another similar kind is called 4-7-8 breathing. With this, you inhale for 4, then you hold your breath for a little bit longer for a count of 7, and then you fully exhale, blowing out that breath for a count of 8. So that one gets you a little deeper into the breathing. Now, this can be uncomfortable for some people, right? Some people will start with the 4 square breathing, work their way up to 4-7-8. But the reason I have, again, you can just focus on deep breathing, simple breaths. You can do this because it makes your brain engage with the breathing too. And you can do these for as short or as long as you want. One time through, a couple minutes through. Again, the goal is just to calm your mind by focusing on your breath. Okay, hopefully you've got 1 or 2 new strategies for those daily mental health habits. Now to wrap it up, let's revisit when it might be time to see a professional. I want to start with this. Anyone and everyone can benefit from talking to a mental health professional on a regular basis. Whether you have good mental health, whether you think you may have something going on, it's good to talk to someone and have that outlet. The preventative route is never a bad idea. But if you're feeling that something may be going on and you're not sure whether you maybe should talk to someone or not, here are some recommendations that can help, okay? The American Psychological Association suggests considering therapy when something causes distress and interferes with some part of life. So some examples include when you're thinking about or coping with the issue and it takes up to at least an hour a day that you're focusing on that issue. The issue causes embarrassment or makes you want to avoid others. The issue has caused your quality of life to decrease. The issue has negatively affected school, work, or relationships. You've made changes in your life or developed habits to cope with the issue. Some specific feelings and physical symptoms to be mindful of if they're getting in the way of normal life. Overwhelm, meaning that you have too many things to do or too many issues to cope with. Fatigue, sleeping more than usual or having trouble getting out of bed can accompany some mental health concerns. Excessive rage, anger, resentment, right? Everyone feels angry at times, but if it doesn't pass in a normal amount of time, it may be a sign of something more serious. Agoraphobia. People with agoraphobia fear being in places where they might experience panic attacks or become trapped. Anxious or intrusive thoughts. It's normal to worry about things from time to time, right? But again, when it takes up a significant part of your day or it causes physical symptoms, your gut, you have a stomach ache, you have a headache, therapy can help you deal with those things. Apathy and hopelessness, losing interest in usual activities in the world around you, losing motivation. Again, these things are very normal throughout the course of your life, but if it persists, if it keeps going, it can indicate a need for some additional support. And then social withdrawal. If you feel that you can't be around people for whatever reason, therapy can be an answer, okay? And just know that there's so many resources out there, no matter what type of help you may need. You can check to see if your employer has an employee assistance program. You may know it as EAP. Lots and lots of great underutilized resources in your EAP. You can check with your doctor insurance to see what options they have. I've also included some phone numbers for some major nationwide resources: the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, Crisis Text Line, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. There are many other nationwide resources and local resources around you, I'm sure too, but any of these can get you started with support. And again, they're not going to judge you. They're going to talk to you. They're going to help you in whatever way you need it. So don't be afraid. This is their job. This is what they want to do. So don't be afraid to take advantage. And Health Check 360 actually partners with some really great mental and brain health companies. And we also have some internal programs as well that your company may offer as part of your wellness program. Now, every single one of you has access to our Mental Health Resource Center, which I'm going to include the link on the blog post with the recording of this webinar. So jump on our blog in the next few hours or tomorrow. Great resources that our team has created. It includes links to past webinars that we've done, articles on mental health, meditations to try. Like I mentioned, we created our own great meditations. We have a resiliency coaching program that could be offered by your company, as well as access to our partners, Mequilibrium and MeMD, that specialize in either daily mental health practices, that's Mequilibrium, or access to actual mental health professionals, that's MeMD. So we have all the steps here. In some cases, you can get lifestyle rewards by using some of these services. Again, if you have access to them, if your company has them, take a look in your My Health Check 360 account to check the resources that you may have. Okay, I'm going right up to the end here today. Bottom line, everyone should be as healthy as they can be in every way possible, right? And that includes mental and brain health. Pay attention to how you feel because it affects your life more than you probably understand. Again, it's okay not to be okay sometimes, but it's also important to work through it and look for support. Focus on daily goals and steps. Reach out if you need additional support. You deserve it. All right, I'll get to questions here. Let me just go through. We've got some great upcoming webinars. Next month is getting outside, the benefits of being in nature. It's wonderful. And then in July, we have something a little bit different. We're going to have one of our Health Check 360 nurses answer some questions that you've got. There should be some communication coming out in the next month or so as far as submitting questions that you have ahead of time, but that's going to be fantastic. You can register for those on the blog. And then if you have lifestyle rewards, if you do have to answer the questions for the webinars, these are going to be the questions. These will be on the slides on the blog post if you need them. I'm not going to stay on this page for too long again, because I'm kind of running over on time. But those will be the questions that you will need to submit if you have to submit questions. And then here's our contact information, social media, all that good stuff. Our blog, that's where you're going to find this webinar and also the link to the resource center, which again, super cool stuff on there. So make sure you're checking that out. And then you can contact us, give us a call, shoot us an email. We'd love to chat about anything we can do to keep you on that good wellness journey.